the hidden longing, when beauty becomes loneliness. I always feel like the most beautiful woman in the room, and at the same time, the loneliest. Those words, spoken softly by a successful woman in the prime of her life, hold a secret most never dare to admit. She stands tall at every gala and exclusive event, her presence impossible to ignore. Her hair is perfect, her makeup flawless, her dress tailored to a vision of confidence. Yet as the evening drags on, a hush settles in her heart. There are always plenty of men nearby. Some are polite, others charming. A few try too hard. Most try not at all. But not one of them stirs anything within her. No heartbeat quickens, no breath catches. Around her, there is laughter and clinking glasses. There are beautiful women everywhere, each as meticulously prepared as she is. These modern-day goddesses walk into every room radiating self-assurance. They are captivating, well-spoken, always 2 steps ahead in both style and conversation. Yet if you look closely, behind all the glitter and light, there is a question hiding in their eyes. It is a question as old as desire itself. Why in a world so abundant does it feel like the supply of truly attractive men is running dry? This is not just her story. It is the silent chorus of thousands. Step into any urban nightlife, any wedding banquet, any upscale networking event. The stage is set with dazzling women, each competing not with each other but with their own longing. These are women who have spent years perfecting the art of being seen. Their beauty is a crafted achievement, born of discipline, investment, and a sense of mission. They know how to light up a room, how to hold a gaze, how to command attention with a simple gesture. Yet the more they rise, the more they notice the men around them shrinking into the background. Suits are wrinkled, shoes are plain, haircuts are hurried. A few men stand out, but most blend into a muted crowd. There is a new imbalance emerging. It used to be said that men ruled the world and women adorned it. Now, women have become the icons of every gathering, and men are often the mere backdrop. What changed? Is it that men stopped trying? Or is something deeper at play for these women? The disappointment is twofold. On the one hand, they have elevated their own standard to heights their mothers never dreamed of. They have mastered not just beauty but self-confidence, independence, sophistication. On the other hand, they cannot escape the creeping sense that men have ceased to evolve with them. It is as if there are 2 parallel realities. Women, thriving and radiant, seem to have left men standing still, content to put in the bare minimum. Every woman in these circles has had the same whispered conversation. Where are all the attractive men? The room is full, but the heart is empty. Modern prosperity was supposed to solve problems, not create new ones. Women have more power and more voice than ever. They are celebrated for ambition and self-expression. Yet the modern city, with all its glittering lights, seems to have become a stage for a silent loneliness. For many, love now feels like a game rigged against them. The irony is striking. The higher a woman climbs, the smaller her dating pool appears. She looks around and finds herself surrounded by women she admires, women she respects, women she envies in moments of secret comparison. Yet when it comes to men, she finds herself quietly disappointed. The old fairy tale of the dashing prince feels out of reach. Instead, she is met with mediocrity. The complaint is not only about beauty, but about effort. Women look at themselves and their friends and see the hours of work behind every outfit, every flawless photo. They see diets, exercise routines, hair appointments, money spent on skincare and style. They see women willing to reinvent themselves, to chase after growth in all areas of life. Then, in stark contrast, they see men who show up with little more than clean jeans and a t-shirt, whose idea of preparation is a splash of cologne and a brush through their hair. The dissonance grows more obvious with every passing year. Women are frustrated, but also confused. Was it always like this? Did men ever care more, or has something shifted in the hidden mechanics of desire and expectation? This growing gap fuels more than just casual complaints. It leads to deep reflection. Are men really falling behind, or have women's standards become impossible? Is it about looks, or about the fading of masculine energy in a world that celebrates the feminine more than ever before? Some say it is the rise of social media, which constantly bombards both sexes with images of impossible perfection. Some blame changing gender roles, which have left many men unsure of what is expected of them. Others say that women, empowered to choose, have simply moved beyond the average man. In quiet moments, the most honest women admit a truth that stings. Their confidence is real, but so is their longing. Their independence is a gift, but it has not shielded them from the ache of unmet desire. For every triumphant entrance and every admiring glance, there is a silent wish for a man who matches them in ambition, depth, and presence. The paradox is painful. Beauty has become a source of loneliness, not a cure for it. So the question lingers, growing louder in the silence between conversations. Are men truly declining, or are we all just chasing shadows of our own making? Is it possible that in a world obsessed with self-improvement and achievement, we have lost sight of the simple truths that connect us? Or is there a deeper illusion at play, one that none of us are willing to face alone? Beneath the makeup, the truth about illusions. Step into any lively cafe, wedding banquet, or social gathering in a modern city and a pattern emerges almost immediately. There is a magnetic beauty to the scene, a choreography of movement and color. The women are a vision. Every detail is intentional. Hair styled to perfection, nails manicured, brows expertly shaped. Dresses hug each curve in ways that seem effortless but are the result of careful planning. The glow of flawless skin and sculpted features dances under the warm lights. Each smile, each laugh, each gesture is artfully curated. Around them, the air hums with the energy of confidence. The men in the same room tell a different story. Shirts hang loose, collars slightly wrinkled, shoes that have seen better days. There are a few who show up with sharp suits and an attentive presence, but they are outnumbered. Most blend into the background, comfortable and unaware. It is not that they lack charm or intelligence. It is simply that, beside the meticulous beauty of the women, their presence feels less vivid, less deliberate. At every corner, the comparison becomes more striking. This is the reality that unfolds every weekend in cities around the world. Social media has turned self-presentation into an art form, and women have become its most dedicated artists. The lens of a camera and the swipe of a finger can transform an ordinary evening into a stage for the extraordinary. Filters soften the skin, brighten the eyes, add a shimmer of perfection. Makeup hides every imperfection, contouring bone structure and creating symmetry where nature did not intend. Cosmetic procedures promise even more, offering the illusion of youth, health, and allure. Behind each image posted, there is a hidden economy of effort and investment. Tutorials are studied, influencers are copied, trends are tracked and adopted. The standard is ever rising, a moving target that is both thrilling and exhausting. The line between reality and performance has blurred. What is seen online is rarely what exists in the mirror, even in person. The techniques of enhancement are so advanced that the difference between natural and artificial has become nearly impossible to spot at a glance. Women do not just compete with each other. They compete with the versions of themselves they have crafted and perfected for the digital world. The effect is everywhere. In any given space, there are more women than ever who appear effortlessly beautiful. This is not the randomness of genetics. It is the result of a cultural shift. Appearance has become a project, and perfection is now available to anyone willing to pay the price. The bar for what counts as attractive has been raised to almost superhuman levels. The unspoken message is that any flaw is a choice, not a fate. Yet beneath the surface of admiration, another force is at work. It is no longer just about women seeking to be their best selves. It is about a new collective illusion. As more and more women upgrade their looks, the expectation of beauty is inflated for everyone. Suddenly, what was once considered exceptional becomes the new normal. The more people present themselves as flawless, the more ordinary true uniqueness appears. There is a hidden twist to this mass transformation. As the standard of beauty shifts higher, nearly everyone believes they have earned a spot in the spotlight. Social media has created echo chambers of affirmation. Likes, hearts, and encouraging comments flood every post. Friend groups lift each other up, praising every new look, every filtered photo, every accomplishment in the journey to perfection. It becomes easy, almost automatic, to believe that you are not just attractive, but exceptional. The line between self-confidence and self-delusion grows thinner with every scroll. This is not merely vanity. It is survival in a social landscape where worth is measured in digital applause. The illusion is so complete that many begin to believe their curated reflection is the truth. Women are praised not only for what they have achieved, but for the appearance of effortlessness. In these circles, the ordinary is invisible. Only the extraordinary is seen. Meanwhile, men find themselves trapped in a different reality. As the standard for women's appearance soars, the standard for men's appearance stagnates, or worse, is scrutinized in a harsher light. Men who once felt secure in their place now find themselves quietly judged for every detail, from hairline to posture to the brand of their shoes. Where women are celebrated, men are increasingly measured, their shortcomings noted and discussed with a candidness that rarely goes both ways. The smallest flaw becomes a focal point. A receding hairline, a slouch in the shoulders, a shirt that is not quite the right fit. These things are no longer invisible. They are highlighted in conversation and critique. Yet, unlike women, men rarely find the same chorus of support. There are no echo chambers of validation. The average man is expected to accept his place, to make peace with the reality that the rules have changed. For many, the message is not to improve, but to endure. The gap widens further, while women receive constant encouragement to embrace, enhance, and celebrate their looks, men encounter the reverse. Critique is offered without comfort, expectation without empathy. The imbalance becomes self-perpetuating. Women chase new heights of beauty, supported by their peers and their platforms. Men are told to deal with it quietly, and without hope of the same communal uplift. Beneath the layers of makeup, behind the filters and lights, a subtle truth emerges. The world is not just obsessed with beauty. It is obsessed with the illusion of being among the exceptional. The irony is that when everyone is special, no one truly stands out. The echo chamber grows louder, but the sense of isolation deepens. The more we chase validation from others, the harder it becomes to recognize what is real and what is simply a reflection of collective longing. When the standard of beauty becomes a burden for men. Scroll through social media any day of the week and you will see a trend that is both subtle and relentless. Women, both ordinary and extraordinary, are voicing a familiar frustration. Where have all the handsome men gone? These comments echo through viral videos, trending posts, and heated debates online. Some are said in jest, some are laced with irony, but most carry a hidden sting. Men read these words. They notice the memes, the TikToks, the talk show punchlines about how men have let themselves go. At first, many laugh along. After a while, though, the jokes begin to cut a little deeper. It is no longer just a question of personal pride. For many men, these conversations chip away at self-esteem. They start to wonder if being themselves is no longer enough. The unspoken message is that women have climbed higher in every measure of self-presentation, while men have stalled or even regressed. The comparison is everywhere, and it feels relentless. A young man swipes through photos from a recent party and sees his female friends glowing with confidence, their beauty almost intimidating. He looks at himself and his friends in those same picture shirts untucked, hair unstyled, bodies relaxed in the comfort of their own skin. What was once seen as normal now feels lackluster, even shameful. There is a growing sense among men that they are on display, but not in a way that invites praise or support. Instead, it is an invitation for criticism. Why don't men put in the effort anymore? Why do they dress like they just rolled out of bed? Why is it so hard for men to care about their appearance? The scrutiny is real, and for many, it feels impossible to win. If a man tries too hard, he risks being labeled as vain, or even worse, insecure. If he does nothing, he becomes invisible, an example for others of what not to do. This pressure is not entirely new, but social media has turned up the volume. There is a paradox at the heart of modern masculinity. Women are celebrated for their transformation, for their ability to reinvent and enhance. Every upgrade is met with applause. Men, on the other hand, are told to be authentic, to stay true, to avoid artifice at all costs. Authenticity is celebrated, but only when it looks good. In practice, this means men are discouraged from using the same tools available to women. Makeup is out of the question. Skincare is a novelty, not a norm. Even the idea of choosing clothes with intention can draw suspicion. The unwritten rule is that a real man does not hide behind a mask. He must face the world as is. The trouble is, in a world where everyone else is leveling up, as is begins to look like not enough. Consider a recent event, an upscale birthday party in the city, where the guest list was carefully curated. As the evening began, the women arrived first. Each one had spent hours preparing, selecting the right dress, perfecting her hair and makeup, rehearsing her posture and her smile. They floated into the room like movie stars, drawing attention in every direction. The men arrived in smaller clusters, more casual, laughing easily. Some wore suits, but many favored jeans and polos. Their shoes were comfortable, their hair was unstyled, the gap was impossible to miss. As the night wore on, the energy shifted. The women, radiant and confident, began to glance around with growing impatience. Their conversations drifted toward disappointment. Is this really the best we have? Why do men look so tired all the time? Why am I the only one who dressed up for many of the men? This went unnoticed. They were at ease, unaware of the silent judgment building around them. But not all men are oblivious. In the aftermath, photos began to circulate on social media. Comments appeared beneath every image. Some were lighthearted, others not. Look at the girls. So beautiful, why do the guys look like they just came from the gym? The message was clear. The women had outshone the men, and the men had no one to blame but themselves. Here is where the twist appears. Women are free to use every advantage. They can enhance, transform, and reinvent. Their beauty is celebrated, their effort recognized. For men, every flaw is laid bare. There is no shelter from the gaze of others. If a man has thinning hair, it is mentioned. If his clothes do not flatter, it is noticed. If his posture is not strong, it becomes a topic. There is no makeup to hide behind, no filter to blur the lines. The expectation is for raw honesty, but the cost is vulnerability without protection. Men are left in a double bind. On one hand, they are told to be real and unpretentious. On the other, they are measured against an ever-rising bar set by the women around them. Many withdraw, resigning themselves to never matching up. Others overcompensate, chasing trends that feel foreign or forced. A few try to play the game and are mocked for it. The world, it seems, is much more forgiving of a woman's effort than a man's. This imbalance creates more than insecurity. It breeds resentment and confusion. Men who feel unseen or underappreciated retreat further, unsure how to break free from a system that punishes both effort and indifference. Women, frustrated by the lack of male effort, grow tired of waiting for men to catch up. The conversation becomes a cycle of disappointment on both sides. Beneath it all, the core issue remains. When appearance becomes the primary measure of worth, and when only half the population is allowed to play the game, the result is not just imbalance, it is alienation. Men and women stand on opposite sides of the room, each wondering why the other seems so far away. The world keeps spinning, and the silent distance between expectation and reality grows just a little bit wider. When expectations peak and reality disappoints. In recent years, a wave of new thinking has swept through modern culture. The rise of feminism, the celebration of body positivity, and the non-stop messaging of digital media all push one powerful idea: everyone is beautiful. Everyone deserves the best. On the surface, this is liberating. It tells women they are not defined by outdated standards or narrow definitions. It encourages self-love, confidence, and a belief that every individual holds unique value. But beneath the empowering slogans and viral hashtags, something strange is happening. The collective self-image is changing, and with it, the nature of romantic expectations. Spend time online and you will see the pattern everywhere. A steady stream of posts, videos, and discussions paint a world where no one is allowed to feel average. Women are praised for embracing every curve, for loving their imperfections, for demanding partners who meet their growing list of standards. Social media is an endless showcase of transformation and empowerment. You are a 10, the captions declare, echoed by friends and followers. Compliments pour in, hearts and likes multiply. Self-esteem rises on the tide of affirmation. But this culture of elevation has a side effect. Many women begin to see themselves through a lens that always magnifies. When asked to rate themselves, they go high 8, 9, sometimes even 10. The logic is irresistible. If everyone is worthy, then why not claim the highest number? Friends support the belief, creating a chorus of validation. Yet when these same women are asked to rate men, the numbers tumble. 6s and 7s become the norm, even for decent, kind, and stable men. It is not simply a matter of preference, it is the subconscious influence of a world that tells women to reach for the best and never settle. This creates an invisible gap. On one side, women whose self-worth has been lifted by the winds of modern ideology. On the other, men who sense the growing distance but struggle to meet standards that always seem just out of reach. The more empowered women become, the more demanding their expectations for partners. For men, the result is confusion, frustration, and a quiet sense of inadequacy. Yet biology tells a different story about attraction. For centuries, men have been drawn to beauty, youth, and signs of vitality. These preferences are not shallow. They are rooted in evolution and the desire to find healthy partners for building a future. Women, meanwhile, have always valued something else: stability, status, resourcefulness, and emotional strength. History is full of examples. While a man's first glance seeks visual allure, a woman's gaze lingers on qualities that promise safety, progress, and resilience. This is why the landscape of modern dating looks the way it does. Beautiful women, surrounded by attention, do not always pair with the most handsome men. Instead, there is a surprising twist. The phenomenon has become so familiar it has a name among observers: the Tony Soprano effect. Tony Soprano, the fictional mob boss from television, is not what most would call a conventionally attractive man. He is middle-aged, heavyset, sometimes rough in manner. Yet, in his world, he is surrounded by women who are strikingly beautiful, loyal, and even infatuated. What is happening here? The answer is not as simple as power or wealth. It is about presence and energy that draws others in regardless of physical appearance. Tony Soprano radiates confidence, decisiveness, and a sense of control over his world. He is flawed, yes, but undeniably magnetic. This is the paradox that defies surface-level logic. Women, for all their emphasis on self-improvement and external beauty, often find themselves drawn to men whose strength is revealed through character, not appearance. Modern life amplifies this contradiction. The same woman who strives to look her best, who will not compromise on her own appearance, will quietly accept a partner who is far from perfect in the looks department if he brings other qualities to the table. Sometimes, this is a conscious choice. Other times, it is an instinct that sneaks up on her. A man who is reliable, respected, or admired by others can eclipse a man who is merely good-looking. Security, stability, leadership. These things hold a timeless appeal. Yet this does not mean the gap in standards has no cost. For men who are neither conventionally handsome nor blessed with status, the pressure is intense. They watch as the rules shift, unsure how to play the new game. They may feel that physical appearance is all that matters, when in reality, it is only part of a much more complicated puzzle. Women, too, feel the burden of expectation. When you are told every day that you deserve the best, it becomes harder to accept anything less. The result is a culture of waiting. Waiting for the perfect man, the perfect relationship, the perfect confirmation of your worth. Too often, reality falls short. Relationships that might have flourished under simpler circumstances dissolve under the weight of unrealistic dreams. So what truly makes a man attractive in the long run, it is not always a chiseled jaw or impeccable style. It is not a six-figure bank account or flashy success. The men who leave a mark are those who bring something deeper: a sense of purpose, a quiet self-assurance, a willingness to stand by their values even when the world is watching. Women are still drawn, in the end, to character, strength, resilience, kindness, and the ability to lead through adversity. These are the traits that last when youth and beauty fade. The world may shout that everyone is a 10 and that no one should settle for less. But life proves otherwise. We are still human, still searching for real connection, still vulnerable to the pull of authentic character. The Tony Soprano effect reminds us that expectation and reality are never quite the same, and that the most meaningful attractions have little to do with numbers at all. In the quiet spaces between self-praise and disappointment, we are left to wonder what it truly means to be enough for ourselves and for each other. Lost in the illusion of romance, when expectations meet disappointment. The modern world offers endless possibilities. Dating apps promise excitement, adventure, and the chance to meet people who once would have been out of reach. Social circles expand beyond city limits, boundaries blur, and suddenly the prospect of capturing the attention of a truly attractive man feels within grasp for many women. For some, this is a thrill proof that they can stand beside anyone, that beauty and desirability have been democratized. If he chooses me, then I must be special. The thinking goes, if I can win over a man everyone wants, then maybe I really am a 10. At first, this belief is intoxicating. The short-term attention of a handsome, high-status man is exhilarating. The messages are witty. The dates are glamorous. The chemistry is intense. For a few nights, maybe even a few weeks, everything feels like a movie. Compliments flow. Late-night conversations spark possibility, and every encounter is a rush. The illusion grows. Friends cheer on from the sidelines, eager to hear about the next chapter. Every interaction is proof that this connection is not only possible, but deserved. Yet, beneath the excitement, there is a pattern that repeats itself again and again. These whirlwind romances often end as quickly as they began. The texts slow, the compliments fade, the invitations become less frequent. One morning, the woman wakes up alone. The memory of a magical night is replaced by silence. There is confusion, then doubt, then a quiet sense of loss. What happened? Was she not good enough? Did she do something wrong, or was the entire affair destined to end from the very beginning? Here is where the gap between male and female desire reveals itself most clearly. For many women, sex and intimacy are closely tied to emotion. Sharing a night with someone often means opening the door to deeper feelings, to hope, and to the possibility of something real. For men, the same experience can mean something entirely different. Attraction and pleasure are sometimes separated from the need for commitment or even genuine connection. The act is its own reward, a momentary adventure with no strings attached. The truth is uncomfortable but important. Men are often willing to be with women far outside their league in a physical sense, especially for a short-term connection. They may chase, flatter, and pursue with intensity, only to withdraw when the thrill fades. This is not always cruelty. It is simply a different set of rules. For men, the excitement of a short-term conquest rarely translates into a desire for something lasting. For women, the encounter often lingers as a question, an unresolved hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something more. Listen to the confessions that echo in late-night talks between friends. He made me feel like the only girl in the world. But the next day, he acted like nothing happened. Or I thought I finally found someone who saw me, really saw me. I felt amazing for a little while. And then he was gone. These stories are everywhere. They are the shadows that fall behind every highlight reel on social media. Women chase the high of being chosen by a man everyone desires, but the crash that follows can be devastating. The ache of unfulfilled expectation cuts deep, leaving behind self-doubt and a longing that is hard to explain. Case after case reveals the same lesson. A woman recalls meeting a charming, attractive man at a rooftop party. The chemistry was undeniable, the night unforgettable. For days, she replayed every word, every glance, convinced that this was the beginning of something real. But when she reached out, he was distant. Days turned to weeks, and she realized she was not the only one in his orbit. The experience became a bittersweet memory, a reminder that even the brightest sparks can burn out quickly. This is the twist that so many fail to see coming. The men who capture the attention of the room, who have their pick of admirers, are rarely seeking depth with every encounter. Their value lies in their freedom, their abundance of options, and their willingness to indulge in fleeting pleasures. For women who invest their hearts, the disappointment is not just in the loss of a relationship, but in the realization that physical connection does not guarantee emotional investment. The dream of leveling up through romance gives way to the reality of short-term connection and long-term longing. Meanwhile, the relationships that last, the ones built on respect, partnership, and shared growth, often look different from the fantasy. These bonds grow between people whose values and expectations are aligned. There is a sense of balance, of being seen and accepted for who you are. The excitement may be less dramatic, but the security is deeper. Compatibility, not conquest, is the foundation. The lesson is not to lower one's standards or abandon the search for genuine attraction. Instead, it is to recognize the difference between the rush of being chosen and the peace of being cherished. The world encourages chasing the impossible, measuring worth by attention and applause. But the heart learns slowly and sometimes painfully that true connection is built on honesty, vulnerability, and a willingness to let go of illusions. When expectations collide with reality, disappointment is inevitable. Yet, within the ruins of broken dreams, and there is a chance to rebuild this time on something real. The mirror of truth. When illusions can no longer hide our flaws, there comes a moment when the glow of flattery fades and the applause of admirers grows silent. In that quiet, something powerful happens. Illusions crack. The stories we told ourselves about how unique, exceptional, or irresistible we might be begin to dissolve in the harsh light of reality. This awakening does not happen overnight. It builds quietly, often after a series of disappointments, misunderstandings, and silent questions that refuse to go away. For many, the journey begins with a kind of stubborn optimism, having been told from every direction to know your worth and never settle. The idea takes root that being treated as special is a birthright. Compliments come easily. Friends are quick to affirm every new look, every clever post, every carefully curated photo. There is a comfort in believing you are among the chosen, that your beauty or charm is enough to carry you above the ordinary. But life, as it always does, brings lessons in humility. The attention that once flowed freely begins to wane. The excitement of new connections fizzles out. Suddenly, messages go unanswered, dates are canceled, the circle of admirers shrinks. The realization is subtle at first, a missed call here, an ignored text there. Yet over time, the pattern becomes undeniable. The people who once made you feel invincible now seem distant. The approval that once felt so certain is replaced by uncertainty. Stories emerge from women who once saw themselves as invulnerable. There is the influencer who admits that behind every flawless selfie lies 100 rejected shots and layers of editing. She confesses that without the digital magic, she feels exposed, just another face in the crowd. Another, once the life of every party, describes the loneliness that crept in when the invitations stopped coming. She admits she relied too much on her looks, never thinking they might someday be overlooked. A third shares that, after years of believing she deserved only the best, she realized too late that she had overlooked kindness, depth, and sincerity in her search for admiration. The common thread in these confessions is a moment of clarity, a time when the mask slips and the truth is unavoidable. Looking into the mirror, the person staring back is not a goddess or an icon, but a human being, imperfect, vulnerable, longing for the same things as everyone else: acceptance, connection, and meaning. The journey from illusion to self-knowledge is not easy. It is uncomfortable to admit that the things we once used to stand out, beauty, charm, bravado, are not enough on their own. The world is full of attractive faces and sparkling personalities. The deeper value is not in being admired, but in being known. There is power in facing this truth. To acknowledge limitations is not defeat, it is liberation. When the pressure to be exceptional fades, there is room to discover who you really are beneath the surface. Some find that letting go of unrealistic expectations brings a sense of peace. Instead of chasing endless validation, they learn to appreciate simple moments of honesty, small acts of kindness, and genuine connection. The race to be seen gives way to the relief of simply being. This does not mean abandoning self-improvement or ambition. Rather, it means shifting the focus from seeking approval to building character. Confidence grows not from being told you are special, but from the courage to face your own flaws and keep moving forward. Real self-respect comes from meeting your own gaze in the mirror and accepting what you see, even the things that cannot be changed. The mirror of truth is unforgiving, but it is also the beginning of real growth. Those who dare to look without illusion find a kind of strength that cannot be faked. They are less likely to be shaken by setbacks, less desperate for applause, and more willing to show up authentically. In the end, maturity is not about reaching some unreachable standard, but about living comfortably within the truth of who you are. For every confession of disappointment or regret, there is also a story of resilience. People who have faced the reality of their own limits often emerge wiser, kinder, and more grounded. They become better friends, partners, and leaders, not because they are perfect, but because they know the value of honesty. In a world that celebrates fantasy and rewards illusion, it takes courage to stand before the mirror and see clearly. But it is only in that moment, when the last layer of pretense falls away, that we find the beginning of true self-respect. Growth does not come from being told you are enough, but from realizing in your own quiet way that being real is the only standard that ever mattered. Men in the journey to rediscover self-worth. Across the landscape of modern life, a quiet struggle plays out in the hearts of many men. As conversations about beauty, self-care, and standards swirl around them, the question arises: why do so many men seem indifferent to their appearance? Is it laziness, or is something deeper at work? The answer, as with most things, is layered with history, psychology, and shifting expectations. For many men, the reluctance to focus on appearance begins with the weight of tradition. For generations, men were valued for their strength, intelligence, and achievement, not their looks. Childhood lessons taught them that effort should be reserved for work, not the mirror. A well-worn pair of shoes or a wrinkled shirt was not a flaw, it was a badge of utility, a sign of priorities placed elsewhere. Vanity was something to be wary of, a distraction from real substance. Yet beneath these habits lies a tangle of emotions. Some men carry quiet insecurities about their bodies, comparing themselves unfavorably to images in media or to friends who seem more naturally gifted. For others, there is a sense of resignation, a belief that no amount of effort will ever close the gap. Lacking positive feedback, motivation fades. Society, too, sends mixed messages. The man who tries too hard is mocked for being vain or insecure, while the man who tries too little is ignored. The message is clear: be authentic, but not too much. Strive, but never appear desperate. A deeper reason for this apathy is found in the simple comfort of self-acceptance. Many men are content in their routines, valuing reliability, humor, or kindness above style or fitness. They find pride in being steady and unfussy, believing that true worth is found in action, not appearance. This quiet confidence can be attractive, but it also risks crossing into complacency, especially as the world around them changes. Look back through history and the contrast becomes vivid. In the early 20th century, men took pride in being well-dressed. The image of the gentleman pressed suit, polished shoes, crisp hat was a mark of respectability and aspiration. Self-care was not seen as vain but as a responsibility, a way of signaling readiness for opportunity. The second half of the century brought waves of rebellion against formality. The casual revolution, from denim to t-shirts, made comfort king. Personal style became less about conformity and more about individual expression, but also about practicality. Today, the pendulum has swung even further. The minimalist ethos prizes utility and effortlessness. Technology and remote work have blurred boundaries between home and the outside world. For many men, comfort is not just a luxury, but a declaration of freedom from old constraints. At the same time, new pressures emerge. The internet is filled with influencers who showcase perfect bodies, impeccable grooming, and high-end wardrobes. The message is mixed care, but don't care too much. Stand out, but never try too hard. Within this cultural swirl, some men embark on a conscious journey to reinvent themselves. Consider the story of Daniel, a man in his mid-30s who spent years blending into the background. Tired of feeling overlooked, he decided to make a change. He joined a gym, invested in better clothes, learned about grooming, and even sought advice on posture and communication. The results were swift. Colleagues began to notice his confidence. Friends commented on his transformation. Even strangers responded differently, a smile here, a nod there. Daniel's sense of possibility expanded. For a time, it seemed as if the world truly did reward those who made the effort. But the story does not end there. After the initial rush, Daniel noticed something unexpected. The attention felt good, but it was fleeting. Compliments faded and old insecurities crept back in. He realized that no matter how much he polished his appearance, the feeling of being enough had to come from within. His relationships deepened not because he looked better, but because he became more open and present. The real reward was in knowing himself, not just in winning the approval of others. Here lies the twist that is rarely discussed. Not every man who overhauls his appearance finds lasting happiness. For some, the pursuit becomes exhausting, a never-ending chase for external validation. The standards shift, the bar keeps rising, and satisfaction slips away. Meanwhile, there are men who, despite never fitting the mold of style or fitness, are deeply content. They have embraced their quirks, laughed off their flaws, and invested in what brings them meaning: relationships, hobbies, a sense of purpose. Their attractiveness is quiet, rooted in authenticity and the courage to be themselves. In a world obsessed with image, there is freedom in stepping off the treadmill of perfection. Real self-worth is not bought with clothes or carved at the gym. It is built through small acts of integrity, consistency, and self-knowledge. For men, the journey back to value is not about rejecting change or improvement. It is about choosing which changes matter and recognizing that sometimes the greatest strength is in acceptance. As the pressures mount and expectations evolve, the men who thrive are those who find peace with who they are and invite the world to meet them there. Redefining true attraction. For so long, society has measured beauty along a single dimension: attractive or unattractive, hot or not, worthy or invisible. But real life is not a simple scale, and the heart does not keep score with checklists. Attraction is a mysterious current, pulled by more than what the eyes can see. Look closely and you will find that true allure has less to do with surface perfection and everything to do with presence. How someone moves, how they hold themselves, how they make others feel. Self-confidence is magnetic. It draws people in without needing to shout for attention. A person who is comfortable in their own skin, who is at peace with both their strengths and imperfections, radiates a quiet energy that outshines polished features or designer clothes. Authenticity has a power that cannot be faked. It is seen in laughter that is not forced, in eyes that do not shift away, in a willingness to speak honestly and listen deeply. This is the kind of attraction that lingers, that turns passing glances into lasting impressions. The world is filled with examples that break the old rules. There are couples everywhere who, on paper, make no sense. The striking woman with the unassuming man, the charismatic man with the shy, unconventional partner. What holds them together? It is not just looks, but a deeper connection: shared humor, respect, resilience through hardship, a sense of belonging that cannot be manufactured. People are drawn to those who offer them an anchor, a safe place to be themselves, a spark that ignites curiosity and comfort in equal measure. Consider the stories that rarely make the headlines but live quietly in every neighborhood. A woman who married a man many would call average, but whose presence calms every storm in her life. A couple who met through mutual struggles, finding in each other the courage to face challenges they could never have survived alone. A man who, though never the center of attention, inspires loyalty and affection because he is always real, never afraid to be vulnerable. These relationships are built not on the shifting sands of surface attraction, but on the bedrock of trust, character, and the comfort of true companionship. Western philosophy has long grappled with the question of what makes life meaningful and fulfilling. The Stoics, ancient philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, taught that happiness is not found in chasing pleasure or approval, but in living with integrity, courage, and gratitude for what we have. They believed that the greatest beauty is to be found in virtue and self-mastery, not in fleeting youth or trends. Nietzsche, another great thinker, urged people to embrace the chaos and uniqueness within themselves, to reject conformity, and to live boldly. For him, authenticity was an act of strength, and those who dared to be themselves, even if misunderstood, shone the brightest. Schopenhauer, too, understood that lasting satisfaction comes not from external validation, but from inner peace, from accepting the world as it is and shaping ourselves with discipline and kindness. When you meet someone who has taken these lessons to heart, it shows. There is a steadiness, a sense of purpose that is impossible to imitate. They walk into a room and something changes, not because of how they look, but because of the values and intentions they bring with them. Their attraction is not a mask, but a reflection of who they have become through experience, humility, and the refusal to be anything but real. Here is the twist that upends every shallow assumption. The most beautiful people are not always the ones who turn heads at first glance. Often, it is their presence, their humor, their kindness, or their quiet strength that makes them unforgettable. The spark of attraction can start with a look, but it grows with every moment of authenticity, every choice to show up as they are, every act of generosity or courage. In a culture obsessed with appearances, this truth is easy to overlook. Yet it is what makes relationships last and lives meaningful. The lesson is simple and profound. If beauty is only skin deep, then its power will fade as surely as the seasons. But if your attraction is built on confidence, honesty, and a sense of purpose, it will outlast every wrinkle, every bad day, every shift in fashion. This is the kind of beauty that only grows with time, the kind that cannot be sold, copied, or filtered. True attraction is not an accident or a gift reserved for the chosen few. It is something anyone can cultivate, by daring to be themselves and by striving every day to live with sincerity. The world's definition of beauty will always change, but the value of being genuine, kind, and self-possessed is timeless. In the end, it is not how you look, but how you make others feel that writes your legacy in their hearts. The real beauty is not on the surface, but in the energy and values you carry with you wherever you go. The final choice, honest enough to be truly loved. Happiness is a pursuit that twists through every part of our lives, but it never really settles on the surface. For a while, it might seem tied to how we look, how we are perceived, how closely we fit the world's idea of what is desirable or worthy. Yet as the stories unfold, as illusions fall away and real life demands our attention, the truth is much simpler. The deepest fulfillment does not come from perfection or applause. It comes from a willingness to see yourself as you really are, and to let others do the same. Everywhere, we are reminded that appearances fade, beauty changes, attention is fleeting. Even the most dazzling first impressions grow dull with time unless they are nurtured by honesty and understanding. What lasts, what truly endures, is the kind of connection built on real knowledge, mutual respect, and the courage to be vulnerable. To love and be loved for your real self is a gift more precious than any compliment, a treasure untouched by the passing of years. This is not an easy lesson. It requires strength to let go of the need for constant approval. It asks you to trade the comfort of illusions for the sometimes uncomfortable clarity of authenticity. It means facing your own fears and limitations, owning your scars, and allowing yourself to be seen, even when it is difficult. Yet every time you choose honesty over pretense, you make space for a deeper happiness, a kind that no one can give or take away except you. Imagine, for a moment, a world where everyone chose to live this way, where every man and woman stepped out from behind their masks and let their true selves be known. What would love look like? If it was rooted not in fantasy but in truth, what would marriage become? If partners embraced each other's flaws as fiercely as their strengths? What would our friendships, our families, our very lives feel like? If no one felt pressured to be someone they were not? The answer is both simple and profound. We would finally be free to give and receive love without fear, to build relationships that are resilient, genuine, and strong. This kind of happiness is not flashy. It is not always glamorous, but it is unbreakable. It survives disappointment, weathering the storms of insecurity and doubt. It rewards the brave, the ones willing to risk rejection for the sake of something real. It brings peace in place of anxiety, trust where once there was suspicion, and warmth in every ordinary day. So the choice remains. You can continue chasing validation, hoping to become someone else's ideal. Or you can stop, breathe, and look honestly at who you are and what you truly want. You can embrace your quirks, your imperfections, your unique journey. You can demand the same honesty from those you let into your life. You can choose connection over comparison, truth over image, love over longing. Are you ready to face your own reflection and see not what you wish was there, but what is? Are you willing to risk the safety of illusion for the joy of being truly known? The path to happiness starts with a single step, choosing to be real, even when it is hard. If we all dared to do this, to stand in our truth, to let go of old scripts and expectations, how would our lives change? Would we find more peace, more meaning, more lasting joy? Would love become less about chasing and more about building? The answer is waiting in the honest conversations we have with ourselves and each other. In the end, the secret is simple. Happiness, love, and fulfillment are not found in the mirror, but in the heart. The bravest thing you can do is show up as yourself, open and unguarded. Only then can you be truly seen, truly accepted, and truly loved. The rest, every illusion, every expectation, every fleeting moment of validation was always just a shadow on the wall. The real thing is here, and it is yours to choose.